the next series of videos, what I'm going to go about is how to create the UV unwrap of your model, and let me go about what I mean with this. So this is really the base of my Pokeball, and at this point the Pokeball, well, the top is going to be red, this part is going to be white, and these lines are going to be black. So aside of that, the bottom is all going to be white, and it's a simple and pretty straightforward model. There are a couple of different kind of Pokeballs that don't require me to modify the geometry of my shape. I'm going to be using said models to just exemplify what I need to do in order to get to a different result. There are some other models like the Great Ball or the Timer Ball or the Heavy Ball or Master Ball that are going to have some more details in the geometry, and I will be doing something about that later. But right now the only thing that I'm going to try to do is use the same base for representing different textures or different Pokeballs applying textures. And it is interesting to notice that most of them are really just the base geometry. The most complicated parts in some of them is going to be adding letters on top of it, and that's something that I'm gonna try to do like an engraving into, but that is going to be a far more advanced topic. Right now what I care about is how to actually apply this texturing to this. One thing that I'm going to do right now is just apply a basic material. So for that I'm gonna go down here to say assign a favorite material. Let's do a bling this time. I want to have some specular highlights. This is going to be my red, which I'm going to be changing to temp red because I'm going to be changing it later for another purpose. I'm just going to call this shading group a red, and I'm going to assign this a red color. So the whole thing is going to be just red. If I press 6 on my keyboard, I should be able to see these Pokeball color material. Oh, I have the base color selected, so that's why. Now in here, it's kind of hard to notice, but I don't really have any way of separating what parts are going to be what material. What I mean with that is if I take a look at my UV shells, so if I click on UV editor, what I'm going to see is this mess. So by default, Maya comes with a particular set of UVs. So there's a sphere inside of that sphere. It is going to come with a particular default set of UVs. See, this one is having a UV inside for that sphere. If I make a cube, that is going to have a default one, but as soon as I start modifying the shape, and remember this one started from a sphere, it is just going to start appending lines on top of each other. These crossing colors here means that my faces are facing in different directions than the ones that I have created. So for that purpose, I'm going to be taking these two out of the way, and a simple solution to these would be something like selecting this shape and then saying, hey, you know what, assign another material. This one is going to be a Lambert. I don't want to have any specular highlights here. Temporary material black, and probably just saying this is going to be a black color. Now, what is the issue with this? The issue is that realistically speaking, each color is going to be coming out of a different render call. What I mean with render call is when the graphics card is actually being called, and usually we tend to separate these in multiple materials, but with a model this simple, I can actually just create a single texture that is going to contain both the black and the red and the white, and all of them is just going to come into a single render call. The more objects that I have in my scene, the more impact I'm going to have in my performance on the graphics card. So what I want to is really just create the materials in such a way that they are using the less number of render calls possible. In this case, I'm going to aim to have a single render call for all of them. So my projections, which is the way that I create the UVs in the first place, are going to be as follows. So first off, I'm going to pause the video here, and I'm just going to assign the materials to the individual faces. I'm going to do something like select all of these and assign an existing material black, for instance, and I'm going to continue. I'm going to pause the video once I have all of these in under my sleeve. So it took a couple of minutes, and now I have a pretty good looking Pokeball. And again, what is the issue with this one is, instead of just taking a single render call for this is going to be taking 3 render calls: one for the red, one for the black, and one for the white. And depending on the number of Pokeballs that I have on my scene, that is just going to be decremental for my frame rate. Now, in the case of a simple Pokeball and the low complexity of the materials, that is not going to be such a big deal. But if I want to run this in a super low-end device, maybe a phone or something, kind of be an overkill. So what I need to do now is transform all of these into something that is going to look a little bit more like what it's supposed to be, a single UV shell that is going to contain all of my subdivisions. And I also need to take in consideration that these lines are going to get curved, and as soon as they get curved, writing on this Pokeball on the texture in something like Photoshop is going to be a little bit more complicated. So another thing that I'm going to be doing for the remaining of these videos is I'm going to be working with a different melt space. I tend to use 2 monitors to do stuff with Maya, just move this window to a different monitor and such. But as the time of this recording, I don't have the luxury of separating it into screens. So what I'm going to do is switch my workspace from Maya Classic onto UV editing. That is going to close up those windows and it's going to show me this one in here. Now I can actually choose what is going to be my view on these. I usually just want to go with a 4 view and then the UVs, but this is not the time for modeling, so this is going to stay here on the side. Probably not going to be using the outliner anyways, and then I'm going to devote a little bit more time to the UV editor space itself. So I'm going to save this scene in here, so I'm going to go to File, Save Scene As, and this is going to be my Pokeball 0002, and I'm going to continue here on the next video.